All right, so you are ready to plan your vacation and you are super proactive and you're doing this at least 6 months ahead of time. That's perfect because it gives you time to also create your vacation budget. So in this video, I'm going to give you just a few categories to think about when creating your vacation budget so you can do it pretty simple. So let's go. Hey, my name is Jill and welcome to Live in Balance, where I give you home money management tips and budgeting advice. So in this video, we're going to talk about vacation budgeting. So vacations are very cool. We all need to go on vacation, relax, get away, but we don't want to come home and have to pay for that vacation. We don't want to pay extra interest on our credit cards because we weren't prepared in the beginning. So vacation budget is very, very helpful. One, it helps you just understand and know how much this vacation is really going to cost you. And two, you can start putting some money aside each month so that when it's time for the vacation, you're prepared. You have most of it, if not all of it, ready to go. A few things to think about and some common expenses for all vacations. So here we go. So the first thing is transportation. So depending on where you're going, you're going to have a way to get there. And so it might be by car, it could be by air, it could be by boat, it could be by train. So I don't know, whatever the transportation method is, that's going to be a cost. So write that down, transportation, if it's plane, train, whatever it is, and then start doing some research of how much that is going to cost you and put that number down. So and for this budget, I would suggest putting it on a spreadsheet, or you can just use a notebook, but somewhere where you can manipulate the numbers easy because they might change depending on the time. So transportation is a key one, and you can do your research. And there are ways to make the transportation a little bit cheaper. Maybe if you have flexibility in your dates, there's some times that are less expensive to travel than others. Also, if you have travel rewards or miles that you can use, that can reduce the overall cost of your vacation quite a bit. So there are ways. Do your research, find it out, but put that in your budget, the transportation costs. So the next one is your lodging. Lodging is also probably a big portion of all vacations. And depending on what your style is and where you're actually going, your lodging costs are gonna be different. So you might like hotels, or maybe you rent a house. If you're camping or doing RV type stuff, then there is going to still be some lodging expenses because they generally charge you at the campgrounds or the RV parks. So look that up where you're going, do your research, find out how much it's going to cost, and multiply that by how many nights you're going to be there, and that is your budget for lodging. The next thing is your food. Food and dining is going to be probably expensive. And again, it depends on what you're doing. Are you going to be going to the grocery store? Maybe if you're renting a house or you're camping, you can be doing some cooking on your own. So it might not be quite as expensive as dining out all the time. If you are going to be dining out all the time, try to get an idea of what the average meal costs are. And if you're looking to be a little bit more budgetary, you can... like what we do is we usually say, breakfast is very small, not a big deal. And then we have maybe a late lunch and then a very late dinner. So maybe lunch is our meal out and more expensive meal. And then our dinner's kind of snacky, but that's us. So, you can find out ways to make it work, but definitely consider the food prices of where you're going. And some places that you go, the food prices are really high, and some places they're not. So kind of look and see what the local restaurants tend to charge, and that gives you a good idea of your budget. The other thing to consider is if you're going to be gone for a week, then you can kind of roll over your home budget food and dining into this budget because you're not going to be paying that twice. So, if you normally spend $200 a week on groceries, that $200 could be rolled over into your travel budget. So that's just something else to consider. So the next thing is if you're going to any amusement parks or attractions that you know of. So find out the cost of those, find out the cost of, parking, anything that's related to those, and put that in your budget so that you're prepared for those costs as well. Now, if you're not sure what you're going to do because you don't know what's out there and what your plans are going to be, that's kind of me. I'm like, I go somewhere, I'm like, I don't know, we can go here, 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 here. Get a general idea of how much you want to spend and throw that in your budget so that you're prepared for those surprise attractions that you might want to experience. So the next thing is you want to consider shopping. Spending money. So are you going to want to buy souvenirs or clothing? Do you have kids that are going to want to buy souvenirs and stuff? So think about how much money per day you want to allocate toward shopping. If you have kids, one thing that I suggest that tend to work out for me is I pick a number per day that they could have. So I'm just going to throw out $25 per day. And every day, and it depends on their ages, of course, but every day I give them $25 and I say you can spend it or you can save it, but you'll get $25 every day. So if you save it, you'll have more the next day in case you find something that you like that costs more than $25. And that seemed to work well, and it also is a really good money management lesson for them because they can learn how to manage their own money. You're giving them $25 a day and they can spend it or save it or whatever they want. When it's gone, it's gone. But that's just a little tip, and it depends on the age. Some ages, if they're older, you can give them all of the money and they can decide what they want to do. And if they're really little, they probably don't care. And so you can just keep it in your head and know how much you're going to spend. But regardless, have an amount, say if you want to spend $100 a day for spending money, multiply that by your 7 days or whatever and budget $700 for spending money. I'm just throwing numbers out there. So whatever works for you and your budget and your family. And then another thing that you want to consider is, I didn't say it earlier with the transportation, but gas. So especially if you're going on a road trip, really look at the cost of gas. You can look at the cost of gas over, where you're going, like the average. Figure out about how many miles you're going to drive. And you don't have to have it down to the penny, but you just want to get an idea. Are you going to be spending $1,000 on gas, $300 on gas? Just a rough idea. And similar to the food, consider that you're not spending that gas during that time at home. So some of that budget can kind of get rolled over into your vacation budget. And then I guess the final thing is really if you're traveling internationally, there's a couple of other expenses that you might want to consider. Like, do you need any documents such as passports, visas, and how much do those cost? And if you don't have them, that's an expense that you want to add to your travel budget. The other thing is cell phone. Is your cell phone plan, does it support international calls and texts, or are there additional costs and fees for that? So you just might want to consider that. Ask your cell phone provider and be prepared. And then the final thing is your credit card, because chances are on vacation, especially if you're going internationally, you're going to use your credit card and not cash. Check with your credit card company if they charge you for exchange rate. I've been caught with that one before where I came back and I had fees on there that I wasn't expecting. So just check and make sure that if they do charge an exchange rate, you're well aware of it so that you can kind of prepare for that too. As well as you might want to check the exchange rate for the dollar. And you can use a website, I use xe.com, and that will give you a good idea of what the US dollar's buying power is over in the country that you're going to go to. So because you're going to want to budget based off of how much their stuff is. So if it's the euros are going to be more, you're going to need to budget a little bit more for US. So whatever, you have to look at it and kind of see. It depends on where you're going. The bottom line is, while you're doing your fun vacation planning and you're looking at all the places that you want to go and how you're going to get there and what your schedules are, do consider all of the costs, which I'm sure you're doing that anyway, but put them down on a budget, put them down on a sheet, add them up, and get a good feel of what the total cost of your vacation is going to be. So now let's say your total cost is $5,000. I'm just throwing a number out there. And let's say that you're really proactive and you're planning to do this in 10 months. That means that ideally you could save $500 a month, and that would get you to your $5,000. So by the time you're going on your vacation, you know that you have that money put aside. So when you get your bill in, if you're going to put everything on your credit card, you have the money to pay for it. And that is kind of like the ultimate place to be. And if your vacation is like really, really high and expensive and you don't think you can afford it, then you might want to take a look and see if there's some things that you can consider dropping, or maybe push the vacation out a little bit farther and do something else in between, and really kind of look and see how badly you need this vacation, right? Do you want to go into debt over it, or do you want to just really be able to enjoy it and pay for it and come back and still feel relaxed and not have a bill come in? But those are my tips. I hope that you found them helpful. If you like the video, please click like, please subscribe. If you click the bell, you'll be notified when I do upload new videos. And happy vacation planning. It's a great thing. It always feels good. We all love it. We all need it. Just budget for it so that when you get back, you're still relaxed. All right? We'll see you next time. Bye.